been a minute, but I have been working on the bike. Just been busy the last couple weekends, and then during the week I only get an hour or two here and there to get out in the garage, get working on stuff. So if I got an hour to kill where I can get a bunch of stuff done, that hour, if I film, turns into like 15 minutes of actual work. So sometimes I just like to just hunker down and get some stuff done, because I've had some parts show up, and if I got an hour to kill tonight, I want to get as much done as I can. So it's taken away from being able to film sometimes, as opposed to like on a Saturday when I can take most of the day and monkey around and kind of film some more of the progress and all the things I'm doing. But over like a 2-week stretch of doing an hour here and there, it's just a little bit harder to film. And frankly, I'm just really bad at documenting everything. But I'll show you what we got going on. Pretty happy with the progress. And yeah, I'm gonna try to get some stuff done tonight and actually show you some of the little things I've been addressing as we're going here. So as you may be able to tell, that's actually my actual motor. My Busa motor is in the frame, and I've been connecting up stuff. And I'll give you the rundown of what I've been doing and what's been working so far. Some of the little things I've had to kind of address and just kind of get buttoned up are intake boots. Originally I had some silicone couplers in there on the mock-up motor. Well, when I got this motor, it actually came with Busa intake boots, which is kind of slick, because those intake boots are kind of like, they're somewhat of like an eccentric, the way they mount on the cylinder head. So the intake side and the cylinder head side aren't perfectly lined up. If you rotate them, it moves kind of around in like an egg shape, which, because my 1000 throttle body spacing is slightly different than the Busa, all I had to do was trim off a couple little tabs that normally would take those intake boots and kind of line them up on a little ear that's on the cylinder head. You cut those little tabs off so that boot can rotate any position you want. And I got them to where the spacing is right. And if you use the 1000 throttle body clamps, they actually clamp down tighter, which allows the intake side of the boot to clamp to my throttle bodies nice and secure. And then also check this out. I'll take one of my little screwdrivers here. You know that little hole in the frame that they use for going through the frame and getting to the throttle body clamps? How slick is this that this worked out? The hole in the 1000 lines up with my new combination to the same screw that it's meant to work with on a 1000. So just some random little things that work out. What else did I do? I managed to get all titanium hardware for the clutch cover, the quick access cover, and the oil pan. I still do not have a clutch set up in here right now, so this is just kind of on here to seal everything up. I did manage to replace that braided line like I was talking about for oil pressure. That fitting I don't like. It's a 90 degree. Comes out, it's actually not as low as the oil pan, it's slightly above. But I'm changing out this fitting. That should be here maybe Saturday. So that'll change this direction of this hose and kind of tidy that up and run it a little bit cleaner and snugger to the motor. What else I got going on? Stuff I've had to kind of address. The gear position sensor is hooked up. I got the crank trigger is wired. I had to repin that from the 1000 setup. I shouldn't say repin. I just had to wire it correctly for the Busa trigger. This is a problem I ran into on the 1000, so I addressed it right away with the Busa setup. The wires where they come out of the covers here, from the factory, they come out of a little rubber grommet, and just from years and age and bending, they always seem to break the jacketing, and then it starts to break the strands of wire. And I ran into that on the 1000. I had a wire that was on that trigger that was only holding on by a few strands, and they were both bare where they came through that grommet. So I took the Busa pickup apart right down to the pickup where the factory wires are soldered onto it, unsoldered that, resoldered on new wires, and also resealed it into the grommet on the cover here. And I'm using a little loom clamp to hold it all snug. And this is actually, it's right behind the fairing, so I don't have to worry about bumping it. But I just never liked how that could flex right out of there and break the wires. So I'm just kind of using this to secure everything out of the way. And then we're wired through here. I'm going to shorten one harness here. Where is it? Ooh, should point you where I'm looking. This one right here. For the, come on, gear position sensor. There's just a little too much slack in here from where this was all routed on the 1000 to what I got on the Busa, where it runs out of the cover over there, over to the connector here. We're going to get that stuff all shortened up and repinned, but for now I can use that because I'm going to run it through the gears and get my voltages for the software, so the ECU will know that, you know, first gear is whatever voltage, neutral is whatever, yada yada, all the way through sixth gear. So my display will read correct. I don't remember what the voltages are for the 1000. For all I know, it's the same as the Busa, but I doubt that. So we're going to go through all that. And what else? I'm going to put injectors in so I can hook my fuel lines up. Everything's been in a loop. I loop these, and then this tank, I know the bike runs on methanol, but this tank right now is full of non-leaded race gas. So I will circulate the pump throughout the winter once in a while to kind of keep fuel flowing. So now I can actually unhook this, get the injectors in and get the rail secured, hook the fuel lines up to button that up. And we'll keep going here. Plenum is on. Coils are all wired and good. That's fine. Starter is wired up. I seriously think the last thing I'm down to is I need a front sprocket cover yet. So the speedo sensor will be the only thing that I won't have connected up just yet. Kind of saving my nickels and dimes. I kind of want to get that nice DME front cover with the case saver built into it. We got the oil line banjo fitting figured out for the turbo feed. Boost controller might get moved depending on where the turbo and the wastegate ends up. I'm going to try to make this work kind of like this area because get the wire out of the way. When I'm on the bike, I can see what I got for pressure at the boost controller and also adjust it easily. What else did I have on the agenda for tonight? Oh, I need to make I gotta make a cam sensor block off plate. So we'll get that addressed. I don't know if I'll get that made tonight or not. I'm gonna try to get some of this simple stuff done. Mainly get the gear position sensor programmed up. And I also would like to put some oil in this thing and spin the oil pump and get pressure. And then double check that that sensor is still working, that the motor has good oil pressure just by spinning the pump. I did repin right here, oil temperature down here on the side of the pan. That, when this is all tidied up, that runs over here, up into the kind of the main harness there. This is the hydraulic clutch line. But that used to run all the way down and along and around the backside for the 1000. Now we're just in a nice convenient location here on the Busa motor. What else? I think that's about it as far as the like tedious little stuff I've been doing. Yeah, we have crankcase vent hooked up, crankcase pressure. I had to drill and tap the cover for that, put a different fitting in there. So it's all very much similar to the 1000, but this was really my opportunity to sort of clean up and address things on the 1000 that I didn't, or on the 1000 setup that I didn't like as much or wasn't as clean. So like being able to clean all this wiring up and just route stuff a little bit differently actually was a benefit to doing this whole swap. So I think tonight I'm going to get going on, we're going to start with the gear position sensor. And this will be the first time I got a battery in here. So I got a battery in there, just one for now. And this will be the first time the bike gets powered up with the Busa motor in it. And I believe everything is connected minus that speedo sensor. So let's get this thing turned up, or turned on, in the end turned up, I guess. And we'll get going on some small little things here. Also, the O2 sensor is not plugged in, so that'll probably error out. Tire temp is reading. Oil pan, oil temp is reading. It should be pretty close to ambient. So that's about right. It's showing. Let's see if I can get you in here a little closer. Oh, I just turned the bike off with my... I just hit my hand on it, turned the bike off. But anyway, I'll fire it back up in a bit. The oil temp sensor was reading 65 degrees, which is pretty much where we're at in the shop right now. So it's reading ambient. Tire was reading pretty close to ambient. So at least I know I got that oil temp sensor reconnected and wired up right. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing some work here. All right, here's where I'm at. My pinout here I got from Ligori for all Busa sensors, so I could compare my pinouts to what a Busa would be to what's on the bike. I confirmed my gear position sensor from the 1000 to the Busa is wired correctly, the same way I would if I was doing the Busa from scratch. Now all I got to do is go through, like right now it says it's in third gear, which is correct, but the voltage is slightly different. And what I mean by that is all I'm doing is going through here and putting it in whatever gear, you know, starting neutral, first gear, whatever. I put it in whatever gear I'm going through. We start with first gear. I come over here, and then right where it says gear position sensor, I just look at what that voltage is and write it down. So first gear, 1.86, neutral, 4 points, so basically 5 volt. Second gear, 2.318, second gear, or third gear, 3.0, all the way down 6th gear. Those are the voltages that sensor's reading. All I'm going to do now is go into, so I'm in diagnostic panel right now. I'm going to go to gear change detection, which is, I think I just passed it. Oh, I know what's in here. Please hold. Gear change detection, there it is. So I'll do is open that up and then go over here. Sorry for the glare. Go over here and I'm just going to input the voltages in there. So that's what the 1000 was. So I'll put in what I got now for my Busa answers. Input it in. My gear shift display on the dash will then be accurate. And after that, I think I got everything electrically kind of dialed in and figured out. I don't want to spin the motor over just yet, no oil in it, because I'd like to check and verify crank position and timing, but we don't need to rush that. Let's get this done, and then let's move on to getting injectors in and fuel lines connected. Well, that went good. If you made it this far in my videos, you know what injectors look like, but I got them in. Fuel rail is tight and the lines are hooked up. But what I want to do now is I turned the bike on with the fuel pump unplugged, so there was no fuel up in the lines or the rail. And then we turned the bike on, that would technically cycle the injectors. I don't want to fill the cylinders with fuel yet because I'm not going to be running this thing. So I fired the bike up with the pump unplugged, let the injectors do their thing. Then I plugged the pump back in. Now the injectors are not going to open because I'm not cranking the bike, do anything to fire it. And all I'm going to do now is go to my my output test panel here. Oh, I got to get this unplugged. There. So what I'm going to do now is not to get this cable hooked on stuff. We'll set this up here. And come down here and you can see I got my blue outputs. Get you in here a little closer. Right at the bottom there, fuel pump. I'm going to turn the pump on. It only runs as long as I click on the little lightning bolt that shows that it's going to be powered up. And what I'm going to do is watch for fuel pressure up here, which is right next to the oil pressure. That's a red block. And I just want it to build oil pressure and basically just circulate the system. And good enough. So far, so good. I think what I got to do now is, maybe on my last thing for tonight, is I'm just going to shorten up the gear position sensor leads. So it's a little bit less to wad up in there. So that'll be probably the last project for tonight. Well, that's about it. That's kind of all there is to it. So I'm pretty happy with about an hour and a half's worth of work tonight. So that's really all I got for you. it's all just tedious stuff. I'm sorry I'm not doing any big major fabrication work currently after I got the frame and stuff done. But this is just what my nights have been, is just tidying up stuff and just little, the detail stuff, which I kind of enjoy that stuff. But it's kind of all I'm going to do for tonight. I want to get inside and probably edit this video, watch a little TV. Got to get up for work tomorrow, but got a few more things that should be here either tomorrow or Saturday. I'll have a couple more little projects to get finished up, but we're really kind of getting close to being able to fire it up. I still have to make a header and kind of mount the turbo and stuff yet. That'll just be kind of down the road yet. I mean, it ain't going to be tomorrow, but if I can get everything else buttoned up to where all I got to do is build that header, then I'm sitting pretty good. And I still got to find a clutch. So that's all I got for now. So that's the update. I know a lot of people have been asking what the situation has been. It's because I haven't posted nothing in a few weeks, but this is where we're at. Tedious stuff and kind of waiting around for parts. So we'll see what the next one brings.